This is Rostra, the St. Theodore Guerin Junior Classical League podcast, where we bring the lessons of classical study into the light for the benefit of all. Welcome back to another episode of Rostra. We've got Valeria Zaldana with us today. A topic, let me say this, a person that a lot of people have heard about, a topic that some people have heard about and would be familiar with. You put them together, I think this is a really important episode for Rostra. Who is the person? What's the topic?
So the person's actually Julius Caesar's, and the topic is about the wars of Gaul.
His war up in Gaul, and wars really would be appropriate. I mean, it's multiple conflicts there. Start off with us. When is this all happening, roughly?
Kind of like 57 AC AD.
Actually, BC.
BC,
yeah. So it is before Christ. But yeah, that decade of the 50s BC. The decade of the 1950s, we started thinking about Elvis Presley, but the decade of the 50s BC, you're thinking about Julius Caesar up in Gaul. So you're using the word Gaul for this place. Help us understand, where is that in the world today?
Right now, it's kind of near Britain.
Very close. So it's a large part of it is modern day France. Right, very close to, obviously bordering Germany and close to Britain. What's a Roman doing up in Gaul?
Well, he was trying to conquer Gaul, and his kind of reason he wanted to do it was to also conquer Britain afterwards.
How did that go for him?
Not good.
Didn't go so well. So, and we're going to come back to the Gaul thing. Did you find out what actually happened when he tried to invade Britain?
He kind of he got defeated, and then he just kind of lost, and then he kind of just settled back from Britain.
He really did. It wasn't good. It was often we think about the great and mighty Roman army. This definitely was not successful for them. They invaded the island. Saw these people with this blue substance that they use like war paint, this thing called woad, and the Romans didn't even want to get off their ships. They're like, oh my goodness, what are these? We're not even sure these are human beings. And so they kind of got scared, and it just didn't go well. Eventually, Rome conquered a large portion of Britain, but way after Julius Caesar, so that didn't really happen. Talk to us about the more successful part there, him being in Gaul.
Well, there was this battle of Alesia, which is eastern of Gaul.
Yeah.
And basically, so Caesar besieged Alesia by directing his troops and to kind of fortify all of his troops. So he did two different walls.
Yeah.
And those walls were encircling the city, and the defenders and potential reinforcements were even kind of pushed out.
And you've really cut to the chase. So there were all these battles and conflicts over the course of the years, and it really came down to this one big one, as you just said, the Battle of Alesia. And he just basically set his soldiers in a big ring around the city. Nothing could come in to supply the city. If the city people tried to break out, they're going to run straight into Romans. This is kind of a bad deal. Eventually, the people in the city did try to do that, and what happened?
They kind of did not succeed because they were overpowered by the Romans.
Yeah, that was Roman military at its best, right? Yeah. Just complete destruction. Did you happen to find out who was the leader of the Gauls at that time?
Wasn't it it started Trebonius or something like that?
Yeah. The main guy at that time was a guy named Vercingetorix. I don't know if you ran across that name.
I did not.
It's kind of a strange name to our ears. And he did not die in the fighting, and Caesar took him as a prisoner and brought him back to Rome, and they had a big celebration and a triumph and all that kind of stuff. So pretty much about 10 years, Caesar fighting up there in Gaul, quite successful. What happened after that, did you find out?
I'm pretty sure what happened was that, wasn't there like 2 military campaigns that was like suppressed and like widespread?
There's certainly, and again, even in the Gallic stuff, the Gallic campaigns, yeah, he definitely had some losses. Again, you can't expect to have an undefeated season, as it were, if you think about sports. Yeah, sometimes you're going to lose, and certainly he did. There's a couple of significant ones where Caesar's men lost. After it's all said and done, though, he comes back home. He's victorious. He's riding high. So why is this? Why do you think? And this may be beyond the research, just your own kind of thought about it. Why is this a big deal? Do you think? Why is this such a thing that people will study and remember 2,000 years later?
I feel like before like even this happened, Caesar had a pretty good position in the Roman court.
Yeah.
But I feel like this kind of helped him like become more like, oh, this is Caesar. Like he's gonna like if he goes to war, he's probably gonna win. He's not gonna win at all of it, but he's probably gonna win some of the battles that he's facing.
100%. You exactly nailed it. This absolutely solidified him as a great military commander. He ended up fighting some of his fellow Romans after that in a civil war, completely demolished them. Even though it was Roman versus Roman, he just was incredibly successful. And then really turns into a military dictator. And a few years after that, his friends stab him to death. So it ultimately goes badly for him. I'm curious, because I don't think where you are in your Latin studies, you have read a lot about Caesar in Gaul yet. What led you to this topic?
So my dad used to take Latin, and one of his friends also took Latin. And I remember we went to a trip for my mom, because she does, like, business meetings. And I saw, like, a statue of Caesar. And I was like, oh, I really want to get, like, more into Caesar. And then I kind of started studying him. So that kind of led me to taking Latin as well. So then I saw, like a Caesar's, like, Conquest over Gaul, and I was like, I kind of want to do this.
Okay, whole new episode right now. We're starting the second episode of Rostra here. Oh my goodness, what an amazing story. So your dad took Latin, what, in high school?
In high school, yeah.
Took Latin in high school, and his friends, so you'd heard about Latin and stuff like that, so kind of got intrigued. And then going on a trip with mom and seeing this statue. Do you remember where that was?
It was in a hotel in Las Vegas.
Okay, sure. In fact, there's the famous Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
I was actually staying there.
And I was saying, if you go there, oh my goodness, there's all this Roman art, Roman statues and images and all this kind of thing. No offense to Julius Caesar, his story is very interesting. I like that part of the story even the best because it shows just the connections of, family and, people who will study something or see something like you just said on a trip. And it inspires you to want to know some more about it. And I think that is so cool. You can go to France today. You can see stuff. You can go to Italy, of course, see some of these ancient ruins. So at some point you might get over there and see stuff firsthand. Anything else in your research about Caesar and the Gallic War that you want to make sure that the listeners get to hear?
I feel like before he even started like the wars, he was kind of like having a tough time. He just like married this woman, Azul, I'm pretty sure her name was, and then some like people invade over, and Caesar like kind of goes and hides, and then a couple years later he gets kidnapped by these pirates.
That's a whole other story. Yeah, so young man, and people think of pirates today, they think of people with an eye patch and a peg leg and going arg a lot, and pirates are just thieves, right? They're just people who rob on the ocean. That's just what a pirate is, right? And so, yeah, giving the fact that these people are in the Mediterranean, Italy is in the Mediterranean, you're going to have people who are sailing and getting robbed a lot by pirates. And so it's a real thing. He did get captured by pirates. He got out of that. But if that had gone badly, we wouldn't be having this episode of Rostra right now. History would never have heard of Julius Caesar. So, yeah, fascinating stuff. Well, Valeria, thank you so much for being on. That was fabulous. And perhaps if your family takes another trip, you'll have stuff for another episode.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Rostra. You may check out all our episodes on Spotify and follow us on social media at GarinJCL. That's at GuerinJCL.